Good Thursday evening to everyone. It is good to see you, and it is good to be seen by you. I, of course, am the one and, as far as science knows, only Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver, coming to you from an undisclosed location in the swamps of Central Florida. And I hope you're all having a fine time, because goodness knows I am. Thank you all for being here. We had a great interview last night. Of course, we got our second helping, all just weeks after the other, of Sandy Peterson. He was here. That was lots of fun. We have an awesome guest for you guys tonight. We're going to bring in here in just a few minutes. And tomorrow night, of course, we're going to be playing some Gamma World Live for your entertainment and education and fun. Michael Dale, good to see you. Welcome for being here. Thank you for being here. Welcome. And then Saturday, El Sabado, as they say, I am going to be on Harmony Ginger's live stream. So in case you guys haven't gotten enough Bill Sylvie in your week, I'll be over there. So look out for that. I will post up links on socials as soon as she tells me what they are. So yeah, that's a thing that's going to happen. Damien247, hello and welcome. Good to see you. As folks file in, please move to the seats in the front and fill from front to back, as we like to do here. Happy almost Friday to you, Jimmy, and I hope you are feeling better, my friend. Hope you're on the mend, my cyborg compadre. Kennick, hello, good to see you. So let's talk about tonight. Tonight we have a guest, and I have to admit, this came as a great surprise to me, and I mean great in the sense of this is an awesome surprise. Our guest tonight reached out to me. He is a confidant of that wonderful dynamic duo, Heidi Gygax and Eric Garland. And he was like, hey, I hear you got a web show. You should have me on. So I was like, hey, that sounds pretty awesome, because I love having people on the show. So without further ado, everybody, please welcome Chris Clark to the show. Chris, good evening. How are you? Good to see you.
I need to correct something right away.
Okay.
It wasn't that casual. I was actually down on bended knee begging Bill to let me
Oh,
money had not yet exchanged hands, but I was close. It was right there. It was right there.
wait, are you telling me if I had held out a little bit longer, I could have gotten some cash out of this deal?
I mean, let's be honest. Yeah.
Damn it.
As Geddy Lee says, $10 is $10.
Yeah. $10 is $10. And, I could have, I could have very easily gotten literally ones of dollars out of this deal. So Michael Connor,
it's water under the bridge now. Opportunity only knocks when it knocks. So.
And hey, if opportunity only knocks once, go to bed with your pants on. That's what I say. Yeah. But anyway, Chris, thank you so much for joining us this evening. So for those who may not know, tell us a little bit about yourself, Chris.
Oh my goodness.
I said a little bit. We're on a timer here. I'm kidding. Go.
I'm probably best known in the industry as the Fuzzy Heroes guy, but I've actually been publishing in the games industry since 1982. And I actually, before I was in a company, Inner City Games Designs, I did a few freelance articles for Dragon Magazine, and became friends with Mr. Gygax at the time. He actually offered me a job 3 different times during the late 70s and 80s, and could not understand why I didn't jump at the chance. Although actually I was in high school and I kind of wanted that diploma thing, and had plans to go on to college, as many of us did back in the 70s. Mm-hmm. And so I never joined the company, but I'd stayed peripheral to TSR during most of those years. I would do fill-in articles when somebody was sick. And in the meanwhile, started my own company in 1982 with the Inner City RPG, which is one of the companies called Inner City, because we used to do things like that because trademarking was expensive. So we just, you name your company after whatever you figure your best selling product will be, and hope for the best.
Right.
Although back then we didn't have, what are those things called on our desks? Oh yeah, computers. We had we had typewriters and typesetters and Yoo-hoo glue stick and paste boards.
Right.
And oh my goodness, it was a little more work back in those days, but it was just as much fun. So through the 80s, I had Intercity Games Designs. We put out, I don't know, about 40 titles actually in total before I ran into a nice man. Well, I'm sorry, Bob Bigelow, that used to run, and you're going to be amazed here, Bill, because we're one person away from having known each other all these years. Bob Bigelow, that used to write the Through the Looking Glass column in Dragon Magazine, took me under his wing to give me some advice on how to work harder, not smarter. And it was during this time, about 1988, that TSR started having a few financial difficulties. And they weren't even putting out adventure modules and whatnot. So on a lark, because we were friends from before, I gave Gary Gygax a call and said, "Hey, Gary, do you want to write some adventure modules with me?" He said, "Does it pay?" And I said, "Well, not a lot." And he said, "Well, yeah, sure, as long as it pays something." So Gary and I started by writing a couple of adventure modules together. And then he said, "I have no idea how you put these out on your budget. So why don't you come and form a company with me so that we can launch the Legendary Adventure?" So through the early 90s, I worked on the Legendary Adventure at a place called Heckaforge, which was a company that was a partnership between Gary and I.
Right on.
Let's see. After that, after that one, he wrote, I don't know if you knew or how well you knew, Bill, Gary Gygax.
I did. I knew Gary from '99 until his passing.
Okay. Well, that was the time we were working together. Yeah.
Great.
Interestingly, the man was a writing machine. Oh my goodness. And as much as I tried by myself with almost no staff to keep up with his ability to produce material, I could not keep up with it under Heckaforge, which is why at the big Gamma trade show that year, which was, I want to say 2006, maybe 5, I approached the Troll Lords and asked them to come over and angel it, because I knew they had a slightly larger company and could probably produce everything that Gary turned out. And that all, as we all know, that all worked out for the best. And a number of other products came out as well as Legendary Adventure products. But for those wondering why they see my name on occasional Troll Lord projects that have for Legendary Adventure, that's why. Yeah,
and I was busy as a bee at that time. I had 5 Yigsburg districts on my plate, Teeth of the Barkesh Nor. And you know what? This is going to be, okay, for my audience sake and for your sake, Chris, I would say 99% of the time when I have guests on the show, there is a baseline of knowledge where I can say, like, I can ask a question, but it's really something I know the answer to already, but maybe the audience doesn't know. Very rarely will you ever see me in this chair get rocked back a little bit by stuff. So my first question out of the chute, because I was actually slated to work on 2 LA projects. What can you tell? And I will I will tell you the genesis of all of that. Perhaps when it's just you and me shooting the breeze, because I'm here for you. But my question is, what can you tell us about Key of Sand and the Maledict that were slated for LA?
They're very real. You're not making that up.
No, I'm not.
I know for a fact that Gary finished the manuscripts on them, because that's what Gary would do. Gary would take an hour and finish, 400,000 words.
Yes.
That's a little bit of exaggeration, but only a little. I don't know that copies of those manuscripts exist anymore. Towards the end there, I want to put this delicately. Record keeping at the Gygax household was not great.
Yes, I am very, very well aware of that. Yes.
Thankfully, a lot of stuff was going to be done under Troll Lords. And so Steve's not terrible at it as far as record keeping goes. and much of that got preserved. But as far as what's still out there, wow, not a ton, not a ton.
Okay. So the reason I ask about that, and I've talked to the audience about this before, and I'm not going to focus on the negative here because
Right.
I try to lift up and we try to be positive on this show. If I'm streaming by myself and I've had a pint or two, I might go down a dark alley, but not tonight. Certainly not tonight. I of the projects that I worked on for Gary, Teeth of the Barkeshnor was kind of the jewel in the crown for me, or maybe the tooth in the crown, as the case is. And that module was delayed because someone who had ulterior motives told Gary that I had put copyrighted Wizards of the Coast information in my manuscript.
Okay.
And it was a lie. It was a lie by the person who had first been asked to do that manuscript to get the manuscript away from me and at least get their name on it because it was complete. I have a complete manuscript for Teeth of the Barkeshnor. So rather than go back and look at my own work and realize that that was not true, I took it on faith that I had screwed something up. And in my conversations with Gary, I said, let me fix this. Let me go through I will comb through the manuscript and I will take out anything. But he was very encouraging. He said, no, I need you to work on Key of Sand and Maledict. That's more important.
Okay. He was gung ho for both of those projects.
Yes.
I would be surprised if there's not. And again, I know there was a complete manuscript.
Mm-hmm.
I did not save them for various reasons, but like you said, I don't want to bring people down. That's not what this is about.
Sure.
I don't know if you were aware at the time that you were doing that. I was working on an entire line of Utis modules. Remember the Dragonoid people that supposedly preceded this age of the world in LA, and there were all these lost cities of the Utis, and I was doing a whole series of them.
Okay, I had not gotten deep into the weeds on LA yet. It was my plan. I mean, we knew that Gary was rolling on a table whose bell curve eventually was going to move out of range. So I was working to get the districts for Yigsburg done, and that was the next thing, right? I had my LA books. I still have one Heckaforge product. I had the joke book, the little digest side. I love that thing.
I
absolutely
that and the Flaccid Sword is mine, but maybe a couple of them. But, which I don't know. Is this appropriate for that sort of humor, Christopher? I don't know. I wanted you to get the sense of a shared experience from me, which is why I brought up the Utis adventures. Mm-hmm. All of that came to a crashing halt almost overnight, as you're aware.
Yeah.
And you know what? I had other things to do. I didn't want to fight about it. I had other things to do. And I'm still at the point where there's so much on my to-do list. I'm 62 now. I hope to get through it while I'm still here.
Right. I absolutely understand that feeling. I'm 54 myself. So
see, and I would have guessed 45, but okay.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. But you know what they say, Chris, it ain't the years, it's the miles.
Yeah. True enough.
But yeah, so in going, I think you and I probably have a very similar, a parallel development arc, if you will, in working with Gary. So, the song comes to an end, and it's time to move on to a new project rather, and that brings us then to your current stuff you've got going.
Actually, it doesn't. I'm sorry.
It doesn't. Okay. No. All right. There's a bridge here.
More.
All right. Okay.
I'm a gaming. What's the polite term for someone who sells themselves? I don't think there is one. So, but I'm one of
financial opportunist.
There you go. I'm a gaming financial. About 2011, having seen what I did with Gary and Heckaforge, Mr. Frank Menser, Tim Kask, and James M. Ward had gotten together and wanted to start making modules again.
Mm-hmm.
And my good friend Jim was my good friend at that time. The other two were basically acquaintance friends.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim said, "Oh, we need Chris. He knows how not to lose money. Not he knows how to make money. He just knows how not to lose." Okay. So we formed Eldridge Enterprises in 2011 and put products out until 2016. Huh. And yeah, there's another, I don't know, 7 or 8 products I did with them. After which, and we had a few arguments. I left the company, and as did Mr. Ward at the time, Jim Ward. And so we went on to write The Warden, which maybe you saw that came out.
Yes. Yes, I did.
That incredible, an entire forest gave its lives so that we could have this book.
I think I have a copy of that tome around here somewhere.
I actually don't anymore. I have my one copy, and I was given 60 by Steve because Steve loves me and I love Steve, and we sold them, and they kind of evaporated. So there will be no more forever. So that just about brings us to where we are right now. So
okay.
Funny thing, and you'll remember back in the days of typewriters and Yoo-Hoo glue stick.
Mm-hmm.
When we first got computers is when I started writing the Fuzzy Heroes material. Fuzzy Heroes actually began its life as a slightly more violent and sarcastic humor game called Puppy Pounders. And Bob Bigelow instructed me that at the time, because we were in the midst, if you'll remember, the Satanic Panic.
Right.
He said, "Why don't you present them, because this is a stuffed toy game, with something no parent can object to?" And so Fuzzy Heroes has no death in it, and it's so G-rated that like syrup comes out between the pages. All right, anyway. But I lost I've lost 2 or 3 hard drives over the years. I lost a hard drive about 12 years ago, and a bunch of those books went with it, and they were old PageMaker files, right? So now they had to be omni-scanned and all this, and gosh, Chris, what's wrong with you? So my computer guy put me on a 2 terabyte solid state backup hard drive that updates every 15 minutes from my machine.
Excellent. Good.
You've got a nice setup there. If you take a standard computer and you ask it to open the directory of a 2 terabyte hard drive that has not been optimized or cleaned in, say, 3 years, it waves a little white flag and says no.
It can take a minute or two. Yes, indeed. Even an SSD.
Yep. So I go through once a year and I'm weeding my hard drive. And while I'm weeding my hard drive, an acquaintance is over and he looks at me and he says, "What's these files? CW L1 GG and L2 GG and L3 GG." I said, "Oh, that's the Castle Wolfman module. That was the last one in the series when we started Heckaforge that Gary and I finished, but we never produced because it was huge. It was like 300 pages, and nobody produced 300-page modules in 1990.
Right.
And he looked at me and he says, "You have an unpublished Gary Gygax adventure on your hard drive." I said, "Well, I wrote a chunk of it." You have an sit down. I'm going to make some. So, by the way, I have a Kickstarter coming up next month for what I believe is the last. In fact, I know for a fact it's the last unpublished Chris Clark Gary Gygax campaign-sized module in existence. Only because Chris Clark is part of that, probably. But and that will be kickstarting in July. And it's currently going to cover 3 books, plus a 4th book, Gazetteer, with all the new monsters, critters, and political factions and whatnot that are involved, because there's about 8 subplots and 2 main storylines, because I hate modules that don't have a story. I just do. Adventures should have reasoning in them, you know?
Sure.
Yeah. And then, of course, I'm also writing a tournament module for EggCon 2 now, because EggCon 1 is too soon. But that's where I'm going to be next. Is EggCon. So now we're up to date, because now I'll be at EggCon 1 with Heidi and Eric, and we're going to have a great time.
Excellent. Yeah, I really enjoy the time that I've gotten to hang out with Heidi and Eric. My audience here was kind enough to send me up to GaryCon last year, not this most recent past one, but the year prior, and that was so much fun. And I had met Heidi in passing, and I had actually talked to them online prior to that. But it was wonderful to be able to meet them and get with great people, and I'm certainly excited about EggCon. I wish I could be there for that one, but that sounds absolutely fascinating. So let's take a look at some of the stuff, and I can let me see here. Well, first we'll go to the Kickstarter because I want our audience to be able to get that, and I am going to share
Oh
the
no,
URL.
you're gonna splash news with my Kickstarter around? Oh, I'm not sure I like that. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, so here we go. This is right here on Kickstarter, guys. You should definitely set your watches for when this goes live. And I'm sorry, when did you say this was actually
They're looking right now at July 11th. July 11th.
Okay, yeah. So that's right around the corner, guys. You should definitely check that out. Click that little notify me on launch and get into that Gary Gygax and Chris Clark adventure.
Five castle levels, 10 extra planar adventures, contributions by notable people such as Heidi Gygax, and actually Ernie has already turned in as well.
Nice.
The original modules I used to put on the front, created with the help of Gary Gygax right on the front of the module. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to be able to put, now with 200% more Gygax on these. So, yeah.
Oh, there you go. So have you, okay. If you don't want to even say yes or no here, just say, I'm not going to discuss that. It's absolutely fine. You have the con, as they say. Have you felt any heat from, how should I say, a certain widow who will remain nameless about this?
Actually, no. I don't know if you're aware, but one of the other family members has written that this is Gary never worked on that, and we're dealing with that situation as we speak. More than
okay, that's fine. And it
was not his widow.
Huh.
She and I basically called a truce many years ago, and we just stay out of each other's way. That's all there is.
I have I've learned a few things since Gary passed away, and I'll tell you the afternoon when I heard that news, I took my then toddler daughter to my parents' house and was talking to my father, and my dad, God rest his soul, his refrain, and it's very true, and I think you will probably agree with this, is people are funny. People are funny, and Dad didn't mean ha-ha funny. And at the time, none of us, I'm sure you didn't either, none of us felt that things would get as weird as they did, that it was just going to be, okay, we're going to keep moving forward here because who doesn't want to make money with this, right?
Right.
And things got funny very quickly.
Yep.
So I have a few projects that I've done with Gary. I would love to see Teeth of the Bark Eshnora published. I took a slice of it, which was strictly something that I wrote that Gary approved to be in there, and published it through Frog God a number of years ago. Okay. Yeah, I can definitely.
There's a sense of shared experience. Yes.
Yes. There. I think we're kind of simpatico on that front, Chris. But regardless, again, going back and focusing on the positive, this looks cool, and I'm excited for it. I'm going to keep an eye on this. I don't always get in at the top tier of stuff on Kickstarters, but any of the audience out there, you guys definitely should.
Bill, if you would like to contribute to this project, I can extend that offer to you. We are looking from known writers such as yourself. We are looking for artifacts, single monster encounters, or new monsters, and any small thing that you would like. The reason I say small is because most people, I'm offering it to them because it is possibly their one chance to once again share the author's line with Gary Gygax and me. But, unfortunately, you got to take the good with the bad. Um, and trust me, we're not paying a lot, but we do pay. But if you're interested in the project and you want to contribute in some small way so you can be part of it, please feel free to do so. Just drop me an IM on Facebook.
Sure, absolutely. And
The other thing I wanted to mention before I forget, if you're looking to maybe break some of your old projects loose, I will send you an IM on Facebook with who you need to contact to find out if that's at all possible.
Sure. Thank you very much, Chris. I would love to contribute to Castle Wolf Moon and anything else. Yeah, we'll discuss it. And folks out there in audience land, I will let you guys know about stuff like that as it develops.
You'll get the inside story every single day because it's a contributor.
There you go. You guys will get the lowdown. And Chris was talking about EggCon, guys. I know we've had Heidi and Eric on, and they have talked about this awesome thing. So it is 28 days later. So catch the EggCon rage virus and go up to Wisconsin and have fun at EggCon. That is in late July. And having been up in Wisconsin in the summer, let me tell you what, it is beautiful up there. It is absolutely some lovely country, but July 26th is probably the last day you can go before they switch summer off.
Oh no.
So
it goes through August, but it gets into the 90s, hundreds in August on occasion. So.
Oh, yeah. We mail you guys a little bit from Florida. It's like, here you go. I am running some Castle Wolf Moon 3D at EggCon. I mean, I've got a huge battle mat and 28 millimeter miniature figures and all sorts of furniture and things that go in little rooms. And yes, we should have a good time. Role playing is always fun. Role playing with miniatures, even better. It really is. It really is. And we do live stream on Tuesday here on the show. And I like to break out the Dwarven Forge. Let me see here real quick if I can do this without too much of a disaster.
Yeah, I love Steven, yes.
Yeah, we've got some.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Let me gush like a fan for a minute. That is cool.
But yes, we love our Dwarven Forge around the dungeon here. So I'm definitely down with miniatures, and it's always a fun draw. Like I can get people who would not touch AD&D with a 10-meter barge pole sitting down and playing any version of D&D I tell them to if I bring this stuff to an event.
Yep. And by the way, and this is something that hasn't come up yet, so I got to plug this too. About 3 years ago, I wrote a new role-playing system for hard science fiction called Lance. And we were bringing Lance to EggCon as well. See, there was a tie-in. I promise.
Excellent. So, and I'm going to bring up the Inner City games page here. There's Fuzzy Heroes that is on the shopping page, but where is it? Here we go. So there, Lance, which you did with, of course, Jim Ward. Jim was, we liked Jim around here. I had Jim on the show 4 times and was looking forward to many, many, many more, but,
we were pretty close friends too.
Yeah, Jim was a great guy, and I messaged him a few weeks before GaryCon, and I IM'd him on Facebook and said, I got to get you back on the show. And he's like, well, of course, just let me know and I'll be there. And Jim, you're here in spirit, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about Lance, a science fiction role playing game set in the near future. Chris, give us the spiel.
I enjoy playing things like Star Frontier, Star Wars. I enjoy those, but they're not hard sci-fi. Okay,
they are not.
There's kind of like magic in them. So when we started designing this system, I told all of my other guys working with me, if it's not on Google, at least as a theory, it does not exist. Period. Now, why do that, right? Well, because I don't want to hand this book to a prospective game master and force him to be, a doctorate in physics.
Mm-hmm.
But if he can look it up on Google and wrap his head around it, anything the players throw at him is fair game because he's got all the reference material he could possibly need. So when the player, I'm sorry, I get them confused. When the player says my character takes the laser gun apart and he wants to see if he can adapt it into one of these gizmos,
Mm-hmm.
you can actually look up how a laser works on Google if you know the guys like that and tell him, well, when okay, but that's gonna take up an hour, so let's continue with the adventure for now. You can come back to him the following week and say, well, when you took it apart, this happened, because and have it be actual science. Now, the reason I like that is because thinking players, truly innovative players, even when they don't know the science, think their way through the problem because they have concrete things where they know what the reactions are, or can look them up and know ahead of time, gosh golly, if I apply 375 degrees to natural gas, it explodes if it's in a contained area.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to have the GM tell them that. They can look it up and plan for that ahead of time. So the game itself, while set approximately 400 years in the future, there are people who work for the government, there are people who work for the corporations, and there are those who are freelance, also known as Lance.
Lancers.
And it's the Lance characters that are most often called in to take care of tasks that corporations don't want the responsibility for, and the government certainly couldn't do, because what would the people think? So it's not necessarily nefarious, but it's always highly risky, highly dangerous, and could paint you in a bad light if you don't do it well. But it's very much a problem-solving game versus a combat game. Although there's combat in there, but it's not the thrust of the game itself.
Okay, well that sounds pretty spiffy. So I have to ask you that. My co-host, my occasional co-host, awesome guy, Kyle Schuant, and I have talked a bit about the physics thing before. Sure. Like I once I played again. I don't know. Have you ever played Eclipse Phase?
No.
Okay. Eclipse Phase purports to be a hard sci-fi cyberpunk kind of game.
Okay.
It does have some very sort of loopy sci-fi tropes, but at least grounds them in enough pseudoscience that it sounds hard. It doesn't just
right.
It doesn't just hand wave a lot of stuff. And we our game master at the time, very, very brilliant fellow. He works in the field of AI development now. But we were teasing him because, we were landing on a planet and he had been going on about the hard sci-fi aspect. And we said, what is the planet's resonance and frequency? What is the mean density? What is, how many degrees to the ecliptic is this planet, and so on. And I was telling my co-host Kyle about it, and Kyle takes the mindset of, do you know the answer to the question you're posing the GM? Then you don't need to worry about it.
That's no. Okay. See, in Lance, that would never happen because we already know all of the planets. Now, you could be the first one to land on Uranus, because that's way far out there. All right. But I do know.
Yeah, but you have to curve around to get to Uranus.
And I do know the resonance of Uranus and the specific gravity and the density of whatever atmosphere they have. And because it's all. And again, that's why it's grounded in science. Now, we do have interstellar travel, but believe it or not, none of the ships travel interstellar. They create Einstein-Rosenberg bridges. There's a machine, and by the way, this is something you can find on Google. There's a machine in each of the two solar systems that creates a black hole with the same resonant frequency, which causes them to attract one another. And anything that's within that black hole, which, by the way, is good sized at the time, it's kept out by a magnetic shell from the people that are inside. But anything that's in there goes zip, and it's at the other place. So while in physics it takes a microsecond, those making the journey think it takes 2 weeks, and those outside the bubbles think it takes a month. Talk about your time dilation. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I like that a lot. Um, so I'm sorry. Is Lance out now? Can
Oh,
can
yes.
we buy Lance? Okay,
Oh, yeah.
great.
Yeah. And in
Let's.
fact, there are 3 supplement books out for it already. I am currently while working on Wolf Moon, of course. I'm currently working on the known installations of the Rigel Kantara system. We already have Sal done. And why do that book, right? Well, you think about it. You just mentioned, well, we're going to go land on the planet. Without fail, characters will do the exact opposite thing that you think they were going to, and will go off the rails on a campaign game immediately. Well, the known installations, that's the third book on the lower right. The known installations book is there so that no matter where they go, if they're going to try and dock at a strange dome they saw, you know what's there. So that's every single installation on every planet, asteroid, and floating space station that's in our current solar system.
Wow, that is a heck of a work. So you just bam, just right there. Game master can be like, this is what's there.
Right.
That's exactly it. So no need to spend 10 minutes sweating some quick die
And making
rolls.
something
You got
up
it
and
right
hoping
there.
you remember what you told them. Yeah. Um,
Right.
the funniest part of that is worth the $30 alone. Now, the funniest part of that is the first time when the caller, if you will, the leader of your character party, looks at
Hmm.
you and says, "Yeah, well, we're going to aim for the asteroid belt. What do you think of that?" Oh, well, you did spot a space station as you entered the asteroid, and they're like, "What? You were ready for us? How much of this did you do?" That first look on their face when they try and throw you a curveball and you knock it out of the park. Yeah, it worth $30 alone right there.
Well, that seems like a heck of a good product. And I mean, hey, even if you're a traveler player or Star Frontiers or something
Yeah.
like
I
that.
will mention Mothership as being another one I found rather interesting. Well done game. Those guys deserve a little credit too. So
There you go. But that you've got the book for it. I see you've got a rogues gallery. Every RPG should have a rogues gallery.
yeah,
Just some
and all
some
it is
handy
ready,
dandy
ready.
NPCs and
Yep,
PCs.
ready to play characters because some people don't like doing character creation. Oh, come on,
Right.
we only got 4 hours to play, dude. How long is this going to take? You just take one out of the book and play.
Yeah.
Um, the other one, the Engineer's Guide to Building Spacecraft, is because every single one of my playtesters that started their own campaigns, it's not 4 sessions in before the characters want to start building their own spacecraft. Well, how does that work? Okay, here's the book.
Sure.
No, don't buy it.
Any sciencey game, and you've got
Yeah.
players ready and willing to build their own mech, their own spaceship,
Yep.
what have you.
Yeah.
So we have a question here. Jimmy Invictus wants to know, what tech are you using for sunlight travel? Fusion torch drives?
Sunlight travel. I'm not sure what sunlight travel means. You mean
Clarify, Jimmy.
sublight travel? Sublight speed?
Probably sublight. He might be going from. I'm guessing autocorrect got him there.
Okay. And let's assume it's sublight. Believe it or not, the most common molecule in the galaxy is water. So all of the rocket engines work on water. Every ship comes with with an ionizer that splits the water into hydrogen and oxygen, burns it through the thrusters in the rear, and then it turns back into water. Believe it or not, you can run that mix a little bit lean and keep for yourself enough oxygen that it also supplies the oxygen you need to breathe inside your ship. Finally, and this is the coolest part, spacecraft, they're gas tanks, if you will, are 6 inches thick, but they are the entire outside hull of your ship. Why? Well, and there's heaters in there so they don't freeze solid, but because it blocks radiation.
Exactly. It's
Yeah,
shielding.
yeah. So it occurred to me, you know, if you're not an idiot, what would you want to use for fuel and or as many things as you could? Well, probably the most common molecule found in the galaxy. So yes, water. And by the way, yes, there are ice mines all over the place.
Oh yeah.
You can get water. I believe is something like the cheapest commodity, but it's still at least 1 credit per liter or something like that.
Somebody once told me that based on was it L Cross? Oh, I can't remember. I'm gonna get deep in the weeds on propeller head science stuff. I apologize to our audience, but one of the observations of Mercury was that at either of its poles, there's enough water ice in permanent shadow on Mercury. The planet that's closest to the sun. There's enough water ice to cover like Manhattan in a half-kilometer deep glacier.
There is a strategically placed, because Mercury does not rotate.
Right.
There is a strategically placed dome on Mercury. The Mercury Science, gosh, I should have it memorized, but I don't because I've been writing Castle Wolfman stuff a lot lately. The Mercury Science Dome, anyway, and yes, they tap into that exact water supply. One of the more interesting, we currently, I'm sorry, I'm gonna do this too. If you go up by where it says more on our website, we've recently started a program called the Vanguard program. This is how you get some free adventures. Now, the only ones currently available are for Lance. But in one of them, you chase a professor back to one of the moons of Uranus because he has discovered alien life. I don't know if it'll page down for you. It's called First Contact, because this is the other thing everybody always said to me was, when do we get aliens? I want aliens. Okay, well, I'm not going to give away the secret to First Contact because then nobody will want to play. But you follow him to this moon of Uranus, and of course the entire moon is made of frozen methane, frozen oxygen, frozen water. So you're not going to have any fuel problems once you land there. Getting there, though, is approximately a 400-day journey with these hydrogen-powered thrusters. And that's if you can accelerate, and we found ways to make it work. You can accelerate up to something like 160,000 kilometers per hour, so long as you do it slowly enough. You don't want to pull like 2.5 Gs for 3 days because your brains will leak out your ears. But,
yeah. Oh, right. They'll be sponging you off the bulkhead if they ever find you, if you get going that fast.
I was amazed how low a G factor it takes. It's not so much that your body can't withstand like 5 Gs, but it can't withstand 5 Gs over any particularly long stretch of time is the thing. And we'll get to 160 in 1 day. Watch, and you put yourself under like 3 Gs for 1 full day. There's nothing left of you.
Yeah. There's a bit in. Have you read The Forever War by Haldeman?
Yes.
Yeah. The during one of their first or second deployments, that is a huge problem because they're slingshotting around a white dwarf to go through an Einstein-Rosenberg bridge, and basically all they can do is lie in a pool of shock absorbent gel because of the G's they're pulling.
Yeah, and this is the other thing. People came to me when I first said, "Well, it's hard sci-fi." Oh, really? So how are you making these black holes? And I don't know if people are aware of it, but they've actually made more than one down at CERN.
Yes. Yes. They
don't last very long. And they did discover that if you surround it with an electromagnetic shell, much like the drive system works, it lasts longer. A little bit.
And this is what science is capable of when nobody makes them stop.
Well, yeah.
CERN, please stop making black holes on our planet, please.
I'm not concerned, because if it does happen and there's a catastrophic collapse of our planet as a whole, we won't even realize it. It'll just be over so fast. It'll be all right.
Yeah, that's true. I once read a very melancholy sci-fi story, and I can't remember the name of it. But it's about a woman who is on a group of scientists, and they discover by observing redshift that the Big Rip is happening exponentially faster. And they realize that what they thought was billions or possibly trillions of years away is like dozens of months.
Yeah, because billions of seconds away.
Yeah, exactly. It's happening so fast, and it's more about how she chooses to spend the last few weeks of everything And it does kind of,
It's a little depressing, but
yeah. Because I mean,
it's a journey, you know.
yeah, you talk about, okay, well, X is going to happen where the Earth is going to be destroyed. Oh, okay, well, humanity forever, and we'll find a way to continue on. But when reality itself is tearing apart at the quark level, that's not really survivable event.
I have an actual physicist writing one further source book because I thought it to be a little bit beyond me. But it occurred to me that if you travel with other ships inside this magnetic bubble that protects you from the black hole, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the moment that you transit, you're a singularity, which means that you share all subatomic particles with everyone else inside the singularity. So I have someone writing a book right now called, oh my goodness, what's Quantum Entanglements. Because I think it will be very interesting to have characters that are separated perhaps by an entire solar system exhibiting, for instance, the same symptoms of a cold because of a quantum entanglement.
That sounds absolutely fascinating, and I can't wait to hear more about that. So you guys should definitely, if hard SF RPGs are your jam, definitely check out Inner City Games Designs. That sounds that sounds just crazy enjoyable for the right crowd. For the right crowd, I certainly wouldn't hesitate to jump into a game like that. And you guys out there in audience land, if you dig this, you probably you should probably check it out before the big rip gets you, as Jimmy Invictus points out.
And I left James on there with me because he made sure I didn't get too serious about it and left the fun in the game as well. So it's okay.
Right. Well, we play. I'm guessing you've played your share of Gamma World, yeah?
Oh, sure. I was actually a bigger Metamorphosis Alpha fan, but yes.
And it's funny. I hear that from a lot of folks. I have I got just a few minutes to chit chat with James once, either just before or after an interview, and I said, I think the best way to do Gamma World is to have the Warden is stuck in a dock in orbit, and one of the possible adventures you could have would be to complete the launch sequence. And then, send the Warden out through the galaxy. And
what would be even funnier, right? Is the Warden has been stuck in a deserted dock. Maybe the city nearby got nuked, but the Warden didn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as a prank, the captain, realizing that he was dying from radiation poisoning, put a virus into the computer so that any screen that was scanning the outside of the ship would show that it was in deep space.
Ha!
I don't know.
That follows from Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. There's a relaxation lounge in Expedition to the Barrier Peaks where if the party accidentally jostles a switch, these viewports will open and it shows, a star, the Starfield screensaver effect is flying by, and it's meant to terrify the players into thinking that they had somehow launched the ship into space. So Gary was there before us. I definitely think that's a fun little curve you can throw. I have to get you and Paul Stormberg in the same room and talking about fun stuff that can go on with.
To the best of my knowledge, Paul and I are pretty good friends. So yeah.
Paul is a great guy. We've had him on the show many times, and I really enjoy the times I get to spend with Paul. So Jimmy asks a good question, though, since we're talking a little bit about sci-fi games. Was the Warden just wandering forever? Was it headed somewhere? It was. I don't remember if Jim specifically stated a destination, and if he did, you can correct me on this, Chris.
Did not, but it was supposed to be headed somewhere. Yes,
it did. Yeah, it did have a pre-programmed destination. And again, another question I asked Jim was, did he have was there a feasible end game where the party could potentially live long enough, learn enough about the Warden to correct it and get it safely where it was going? And Jim said, "Oh, absolutely."
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's not supposed to be, you know, the ship is slowly dying and there's nothing you can ever do about it, you know. So,
No,
you know,
with the rightly positioned repairs, it can
yes.
certainly make it to its destination. Yes.
And he even suggested that that was possible for Gamma World, that while your players may not live just in terms of age, you know,
Right.
you know, surviving all other dangers in Gamma World, they may not live to see it happen, but they can definitely initiate certain things that can slowly start to right what happened to Earth in Gamma World. Which, of course, you know, is all the purview of the game master. Some GMs may want to say it. No, it's forever broken. But I like that optimistic outlook that Jim.
And I ran 3 or 4 during my younger days. Every campaign I ever ran in Metamorphosis Alpha, you could save the ship, you could escape the ship, or you could take one of the scouts and I don't know where you'd go because you're in the middle of deep space, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
you could at least fly around
Right.
until you ran out of fuel and died somewhere else. But the other one was everybody asked me, you know, do we ever find out what it was that hit the ship that killed all or most of the crew off? We actually provide 4 potential answers to that, but we don't say which one's correct.
Very interesting.
Well, I don't want to mess up somebody else's campaign by giving an answer that
Sure,
would contradict theirs, you know.
sure. And I think you and I are probably on the same wavelength with this. I think that the best guiding campaign supplements don't.
Right.
You know, people often ask me now. Are you a Greyhawk fan?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, people have often asked me like, "Oh, why do you like Greyhawk?" You know, there's all this lore in Mystara and Birthright and Dragonlance and Forgotten Realms, and like, exactly, there's all that lore.
Yeah.
It's all been done for me. You know,
Yeah.
Greyhawk is my uncolored coloring book. If I decide that I want the people to be green and the trees to be pink, then that's the way it is, and there's no pressure from tons of pre-written lore
Correct.
to go into that. So I think that idea of, look, here's 4 possibilities, maybe one of these will suit you.
Decide your own canon.
Exactly. Make your own canon. And
the funny one is there's a guy up in the luxury lounge that you mentioned from the other book series.
mm-hmm.
A guy up in the luxury lounge lives like a homeless guy, wearing just an overcoat, just sleeps on the grass, and he's certain it was his fault, but he won't tell you why. He says he's hundreds of years old, and it's his fault, but he won't tell you why.
Oh my goodness! Does he have a very snappy military uniform and a hologram
no, just
H on his forehead?
Just a dirty overcoat, actually.
Just a dirty overcoat.
He's not actually a flasher. It's just he's so humbled by what he's committed that he eats, he sleeps, and on the grass in the park, waiting for the end that will never come because for some odd reason he thinks he's immortal. And if you run tests on him, he is several hundred years old, but that's about as much information as you can get from him.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. I love that.
You know, it's interesting because the backstory for something like that, any good GM with his own world will make a far better backstory suited to his world than you or I could write and make canon.
Sure.
You know? Yeah, and that's why you leave that open and you suggest the mystery, but you don't provide the mystery.
Yeah. And again, you know, along the same lines, as said, the best written campaign guides don't. I remember the most recent run through of Lost Caverns of Sojkonth for my Monday night game. I realized I'd given the hex location of the actual the area on the map where you then go into sub-hexes to seek out the Lost Caverns, that I'd gotten that place completely wrong. And I was discussing this with one of my players. I don't. Are you familiar with Alan Grohe? Do you know Alan?
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah. I was talking to Alan about it.
But yeah.
Great repository of Greyhawk knowledge. And I said, well, what do I do about this, Alan? And he said, nothing. It doesn't affect a single thing. It's, instead of being in this patch of mountains, it's in this patch of mountains, Bill. Yeah. It's not going to impact Greyhawk lore a single jot.
Yeah.
So, that was kind of my light bulb moment. Let's see. Jimmy's saying he likes how well thought out your game world. I'm assuming you're referring to Lance there, Jimmy. It does seem like
kind words regardless. Thank you, Jimmy.
But I'm sure he would prefer a sale. So, yeah.
And let me give props. Jim Ward helped. So,
of course,
Jim Ward was the most incredible idea man I have ever met in my life. Okay. Frank Menser is an incredible writer. Tim Kask is a good storyteller. Jim Ward is just an idea guy. But oh my God, he can come up with 12 ideas on things you should have here in a moment's notice. Okay, I'm gonna draw 3 random cards. It's hot, swampy, and arid. Oh, I've got it.
Jim was a great master of improvisation,
yes.
And I loved that about him. What is, whether as player or game master of Jim at any given time, what is your favorite Jim Ward story?
Okay. While we were working with Eldritch Enterprises, Jim, with a little help from me and the other 2 guys, Mr. Tim Kask and Frank Menser, did a series called the Dark Series. Dark Outposts, which was a space station that something went wrong, and you found out it was because they had a number 2 module, Dark Visitor. It's a sentient fungus that got into this station and is doing all this stuff. And then it finally leads to a place called Dark Colony. Well, he's doing game testing for Dark Colony. We're about 4 weeks from publication on it. And I'm sitting and he says, oh, come on, play, Chris. Okay. And he gives everybody 1 item. And he says, okay, Chris, what do you want? I said, I want a cutting torch. You mean like a metal cutting torch? Yeah. Okay, it's only got like a 6-inch flame. That's fine. Only does like a die 6 damage. No, that's okay. All right. So then we start going through. And sure enough, Jim starts pulling out poisoners and diseasers and things with force fields. And we're all trapped in these buildings on the Dark Colony. And the one guy that's with me goes, what the heck do we do now? And I said, we pull out our cutting torch and we cut a hole through the wall and we escape. And Jim looked at me and goes, it's not wise to be smarter than the GM.
That sounds exactly like something Jim would say, actually.
That one of my favorite Jim stories. Well, and the only other one is I had to argue with Jim for about 4 weeks that we needed directional thrusters every 400 feet on the entire hull of the Warden, because he figured you could turn it from the rear. It's 20 miles long and 8 miles wide.
Yeah.
No, snap. No, Jim, every 400 feet.
Yeah, I mean, even 300-meter long cruise ships have thrusters along the keel.
They don't break in half when you try to turn them. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a great. I can absolutely hear that in Jim Ward's voice. It's not wise to be smarter than the game master.
Well, one more, and this is actually a Tim Kask story, but it relates. All right, so we're at Gary Con, I don't know, 6 years ago, and Tim comes over to say hi. We're setting up the booth. You may have met my daughter. She's usually the one in our booth at Gary Con, but whatever. We're setting up the booth, and Tim comes by and saying, and he's got a scooter this year. He's like, hey, you got to check out my new scooter. She goes like heck. And
I remember.
Cool, buddy. And so he goes trundling down the aisle to see some more people, and this girl comes pelting down the aisle. And from behind, she throws her arms around Tim, and she says, oh, Jim, I'm so glad you made it. And Tim turns around with that cold as, deathly pale face of his, that says, you've made a mistake, right? Mm-hmm. And says, not everyone in a scooter is Jim Ward. And the poor girl let him go, and she's like, oh my God, what did I do? Oh my goodness.
That's great. My Oh, Wave of Mutilation. Thank you very much. 11 months a member. We appreciate your patronage, Wave. My my funny Jim Ward story. The first time I met Jim was at Lake Geneva Gaming Convention, and I grabbed a copy of what was the publication that the Judges Guild put out. Basically, it was their house magazine. And
oh yeah, I sort of remember, but yeah, boy, that's a while ago.
Yeah, Jim was he was sitting there, and we were all kind of spring chickens at the time, and
I was much thinner, yes.
I was thinner and this was thicker. So, but Jim is sitting there, and it's obvious that he was up late. We'll say he was up late gaming the night before. And so I pick up this magazine off of whoever's got copies of this for sale, and I start leafing through it, and there's an art. I mean, this magazine dates back to like 77, 76. But there's an article by Jim in it.
Oh, gee, okay.
And, so here's Jim, a teenager back then, and he's trying to write in that authoritative, I am an experienced wargamer voice in it. And so I start reading the article out loud, pausing for dramatic effect. And Jim's just like, I hate you, Bill. Oh, God.
We all write better than we once did. It's okay.
Stop it.
It's a learning process. It's all right.
I let him off the hook after a few sentences, but you could tell it was both hangover and embarrassment.
You're making me crazy trying to think of what that thing was called.
Oh my gosh! Anybody in the audience, I will. You can have $1 internet dollar. I don't know.
Floating vagabond. No, that was
no. What is? Come on, there's. YouTube is showing like 15 of you guys out there. Come on, somebody has got to remember the name.
Yeah, the general was
Avalon Hill.
Avalon Hill.
Okay, we have the Googles. We're just gonna have to, let's see, magazine. So Judges Guild, list of Judges Guild, Judges Guild Journal.
That was it, huh?
Yeah, that was it.
That doesn't ring my bell for me, but okay.
Yep. Wave of Mutilation, thank you very much for the super. $5 Australian. Thank you very much, Wave. I appreciate that. Yeah, this is. I will share this, by the way, if you or anyone else wants to check out the magazine. I think this is just tables of contents for them. But anybody that wants a nostalgia shot, there they are on an old tripod page of the various Judges Guild journals. I don't remember which one I grabbed. I just know it irritated Jim to no end that I was standing there reading his article at him in that faux scholarly voice.
Well, and he taught English in school he was a teacher for a while, wasn't he? As I remember.
Yes, yeah. that he in one of his interviews he talked to us about being an English teacher.
So I'm thinking by 70. No, even in 77, he must have been 19 or 20.
I will gladly bow to your knowledge on that.
I'm trying because I was 16 in 77. So I mean, you youngsters out there,
Again, it ain't the years; it's the miles, Chris.
Jim used to tell me too. Jim was 4 years older than me, because he used to. I think, because he used to tell me, when I was in high school as a senior, we had a word for guys like you. I said, "Oh yeah, freshman." But yeah, he had to have been a little older than that. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But he did bemoan his earlier writing stuff. And yeah, so.
Well, I wasn't teasing his his writing acumen by any stretch of the imagination. I just, I just had to rib old Jim a little bit, and it was a great. Some great opportunities, and Chris and anyone else, if you haven't seen here on the channel, like I said, 4 interviews with the great Jim Ward, and they are definitely worth your time. Jim was one of the first or second people I ever interviewed on this show, in fact. But to bring the focus back to you, my actual guest, so what is next? You've got the Kickstarter kicking off in 2 weeks.
I am deeply involved right now in merging the contributions we are getting from folks, possibly from you, we'll see, into the main manuscript and getting it organized. Much like Jim, I write a little better now than I did in 2001. So I'm making some corrections as I go. And I need to do all the maps and get everything. I mean, I may wind up even doing all the layouts on these too. I've always kind of been a one-man house person type. Yeah, I do it all other than art. I can't draw to save my life, so I do pay people for that. But,
sure.
And so there's a lot to do. I generally like to have the project in the can at the end of the Kickstarter. I don't think we'll make it this time. I think we'll need a little bit more because we're getting a lot of contributions in. So, yeah. And I don't want to say who, because I don't have contracts from everybody yet. But
sure, no, I get it. Sometimes you gotta keep a tight lip about things like that.
It's really cool though that there are so many of his fans out there and they all just want to be part of it. And honest to goodness, I wish I could accept contributions from 100,000 people and make them all part of this. No, I'm not that good. I'm really just not that good.
Well, I mean, but dude, here's the thing: you're bringing it all together. I mean, you're one of those foundational folks who is, of course, who doesn't know the name Gary Gygax,
right.
Dave Arneson, or some of the keynote artists, but you consider yourself, and maybe some folks from over at Judges Guild, but consider yourself. There's so much foundational work you did with Gary, just sort of quietly slaving away in the background there, that people really should be thankful for. So I definitely, if I had an audience that you could hear, this would be the point at which I would say, hey, give the man a round of applause. But I tell your people that you live with will just think you're crazy, so don't do that.
Right.
But
and then I do have 2 new upcoming projects now. I didn't touch on this at all. I also make humor products.
Okay.
I am the guy that designed it's just a social game called Who's Your Daddy, where you play both a man and a woman. You either have as many kids as possible or sue all the other players for child support, or both.
Okay.
Last one with money wins. Okay. Gigantic, which is make sure that you have a space on the lifeboat because no one else needs one after all they're dead. Things of that nature. I have 2 more projects coming up. One is called Blind Date, the Pick-a-Path Adventure. Okay, and it will be a Pick-a-Path adventure, little solo adventure, where everybody's going to flip to the back and read how you met the most wonderful woman. And you have the picket fence and 2 dogs and 1.5 kids and whatever. And of course, none of the paths actually lead there. Okay, they all lead to doom, despair, and destruction, because you'll have one of 3 different types of people that will buy this book. One will be guys who were horribly scarred in some earlier thing, and they're going to go, see, that's what it's like. Okay. 2, the guys that never wanted to try because they were scared, and they're going to see, see, that's why. And then 3, the guys who actually are in healthy and wonderful relationships, and they're going to just laugh because they'll think it's funny. In order to balance that, because I'm not the misogynist most people think I am, we're also going to put out one called the Trade Up Catalog. I have a deal that I'm working on with a local modeling agency to get a bunch of male models and put them in with fictitious names and phone numbers and contact information that, of course, I'll lead back to the modeling agency, free advertising for them. But it's going to be a coffee table size book, right? The big ones in
Hmm.
full color, and you just leave it out when your significant other has not been showing you either the right kind or enough attention. The trade up catalog. Yeah, yeah. And I think it might go over well, but it lets me exercise my rather warped sense of humor a little bit. That's
Well, there you go, and it's all in good fun.
all in good.
Plant your tongue firmly in cheek, and check out those.
I'll have to take a
Check out
copy
those.
of my first LARP, Bill, which is not actually a primer on LARPing, but it says it is. It says it is.
Well, I definitely want to check that out. It's funny because I was actually debating doing an episode, a standalone. I don't always like. Sometimes I'll do just like a standalone video when I think something's just got a little bit of short material. But I've been kind of wondering what to do with LARPing. That's sort of been on the back burner over the couple of years. So definitely send it on. I would love to see that.
I'm going to see if I have a PDF I can shoot you now.
Please do.
I am that guy.
You are that guy. Excellent.
No time like the present.
Excellent.
Yes, sir.
But I was just going to mention, anyone out there in the audience, if you've escaped the thing that's being shown on CNN right now, and that is all I will say about it. Welcome.
Yes,
it's safe here. I don't care. I don't care what your bent is. We don't discuss that here. Just welcome.
And regardless of my bent, I would not be able to make it through. Period.
Yeah. No,
I would wind up discussing halfway through, no matter which side I vote for. Don't worry. You discussed it, and I'm glad you're here. Thank you for that.
You're quite welcome. And everyone else who's here. And so yeah. Now one thing I will tell you. You might want to email that to me. My email is down in the crawl that's coming across there. Is I don't actually have Facebook Messenger on this PC. I keep as little social media stuff on this as possible.
And I think I did. Okay. So let me get your crawl. Bill Sylvia's email. All right.
Yeah. bsylvia@gmail.com. That's me. And anyone else out there in the world who ever wants to reach out to the show, you can reach me at bsylvia@gmail.com. And if you're just swinging by, if you're just kind of clicking through YouTube and you don't know what this nerd behind a camera is doing, if you would please click the subscribe button, click the bell icon if you like tabletop RPG topics, because we talk about them 5 nights a week here on the Delver's Dungeon. And honestly, I think I have the best looking audience in the realm of 5 nights a week classic tabletop RPG live streaming shows. Don't you want to join those numbers? I think you do. So do that. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below and tell me what you like. So,
subject, my first LARP. Okay. I sing too, by the way.
Excellent.
Whatever that was, I don't know. But I all right. Attach. And I was so close to being exalted there, or excited at least, and then crash, All right, we need to go there, and there, and there, and there, and how big is it? Come on, tell me how big you are. It is 1.23 megabytes. It will fit.
Oh, absolutely. That's a pittance for Gmail to process. This lovely new broadband connection here. That's easily 20 times faster.
I live out in the sticks myself.
Let's see.
But we have cable, thank goodness. So,
excellent.
Yes. Otherwise, it would take me a year to get any one of the new covers in. Yeah.
Right. All right. So let's have a gander at my first LARP, and I will.
I believe you will enjoy yourself. I will tell you now that my favorite, is like the third LARP in the series. This is front and back cover there. So and that's the actual bio of Hugh Betcha, my pen name written under. Uh, but yeah, this is from 2001. Oh my goodness, yeah,
That's from a couple of minutes ago.
a couple of minutes ago,
Um,
yeah. Um, the Escape from Blind Man Prison LARP is my favorite. Um, Basically, all of the contestants wear speedos and bikinis, and the scenario is that you're on a lightless planet where you've been taken prisoner, and all of their structures and mechanicals are bio mechanical. In other words, they grow their buildings, they grow their machines. You're stuck in a prison cell with all of the other players, and the idea on this lightless planet is to find the release knob or lever before you run out of oxygen. The victory conditions are that all members involved in the LARP are considered victors. Yeah. Anyway, all right.
all right,
I know
so
it's a family show, Chris. I mean, come on. No.
So taking a quick look here, of course, we have Anacephalic, Hugh Betcha, and a cast of many others, let us say. So here we go. I'm a longtime hobby gamer, as one who has reveled, much as I am sure you have, in the militaristic struggles of recreative war games, in the socially dynamic tension of good role-playing adventure, or perhaps the unmistakable aplomb of great science fiction yarn or game. I, like so many others, has observed those whose LARP and have asked, what's up with that? And I have to pause here in my perambulation of this and really take a moment to drink in your command of high Gygaxian, Chris. I salute you.
I was actually called by Simon Schuster. I mean, yeah, let's not use jargon because not everyone watching this knows the jargon. Simon Schuster called me shortly following his passing and said, "Can you finish some of his novels?" And I said,
wow, really?
"Yeah, I probably could. I would be happy to ghostwrite them and finish them. Have you got permission?" They were not. That was all canceled at the same time with another one of those shared experience things. Yeah.
Yes. In response to your question, Wave, no, it's not. So we go into a tongue-in-cheek explanation of LARPing here. Once thought too dangerous by those running large conventions in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area, LARPs are now accepted, and rightfully so, as a meaningful expression of the gaming hobby. LARPing involves a hands-on approach to role-playing, wherein the player fully immerses him or herself in the characters they portray. Combat, social situations, and interactions and problem solving are all physical activities within a live action game. Social interaction is paramount, and realism an added feature unmatched in non-live games. It's also a great way to meet chicks again. You know, can I just pause here a second and say, my wife, who was my then girlfriend back in the mid 90s, bless her heart, she was very into the SCA.
Okay.
And so I ended up going to quite a few SCA events back then, and camping out in the Florida fall and early spring. So it wasn't brutally hot. But that last statement you make, and I'm not just referring to myself, but that last statement you make is very true.
It's a little misogynistic, but yes, it's true.
Well, I don't necessarily, I don't know how misogynistic it is, because I saw the truth of it. I had, my hair is up just to keep it out of wires and getting caught in the headset constantly. But I do have long hair, and at the time I had much more hair that was even longer, and when I would go walking around the encampment at night looking for someone with a free beer keg, my wife, then girlfriend, would warn me, "You're going to get hit on a lot with hair like that." And she was right. She was right. I sat down somebody had a keg of Coors, and I had my little mug on my belt, and the next thing I knew, I had two medieval times escapees, one on my left and one on my right. You have lovely hair, my laird. And I was like, oh, that's great. Yeah, wonderful. So she did not lie. Gents, grow your hair out long and find yourself an SCA event to
I
go
keep
to.
mine the way my wife likes it because happy wife, happy life. I know that
Yes.
sounds like Jim too, doesn't it? Yeah.
No, I don't think so. So
my son's angry because he's already gray, and I only my mustache so far.
So we have the primer on getting into characters. The big red ball LARP, props, huge couch. 3 times normal scale. See catalog item ICG 9000 MSRP. Well, that's peanuts. Unless you've adjusted for inflation, and then ouch.
Or in a pinch, a piece of string or masking.
Yeah. The line of tape made to represent the couch. For those of you willing to forego the full ARP experience, your incredibly huge loss on the floor. If you're using tape, make sure the sticky side's down. Let's see. Players must choose to assume the role of either tip, mid, or the big red ball. Oh gosh, this is hilarious. And now, is this still available? Is this still in print?
Oh yeah, we sell a couple hundred a year.
Excellent. So if you want to be Tip, Mittens, or the big red ball,
because
guys,
they were the classic first grade English primer characters when I was in school.
Yes.
The first book you got from your teacher was Tip, the puppy or the dog or something. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
A question for me. Robert Phillips asked, "What did I?" I just went as the gentleman escorting my wife's personage. I never delved, no pun intended, that deep into it. Like I said, I went to a few, and then we moved on to other things. I think I still have a trunk somewhere that's got like a big poofy shirt and peasant pants in it. I use them as pajamas from time to time.
You might, before you get to the illustrations on this section, you might want to review them off camera.
Okay.
They're not really R-rated, but they're certainly PG.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Let's we strive to be a family oriented show here. So
believe it or not, when that first came out, I sent 5 copies to every distributor because we were in distribution and in stores at the time. Every distributor ahead of time, and when I called to get orders, they were all doing quotes from the book because they all found it just so funny. And yeah, out the door, that one sold something like 2,100 copies or something.
Oh, I can believe it. This is hilarious. So I'm going to scroll back up to the cover and then show it here because this is great fun, and I don't want to A, spoil it, and B, inadvertently pirate it by going through the whole thing on the show. So this is my first LARP from Inner City Games, ICG catalog number 7308, unless that's a spoof and I just walked into something. Okay, so you guys should definitely check this product out. Hell, I may even do a review of it now that I have a review copy. But
I actually have 176 products out there right now.
Wow!
Through our company and various other companies.
Casting a broad net. You have not rested on your laurels, sir.
Castle Wolf Moon will be my 179th publication, and since it's actually 4 books, it'll be 179 through 183. But, yeah.
Right. Well,
holy
that's
cow. Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. That's
vacation. That's what I need. Whereabouts in Southern Florida are you? No. You got a guest room, Bill?
I'm in it right now. The studio, and even if I wasn't, I also have to share this room with a washer and dryer, which I'm sure would wear thin very quickly on anyone who said, "Oh, I'll just crash in Bill's den."
Well, if they're electric, it would wear thin. But if you've got servants that do that kind of washer and dryer, that would be different.
No, nothing like that. I can barely afford to keep the mechanical ones running, Chris.
Well, I want you to feel free to sell that copy for like $4 Australian, and
I'll consider it.
Okay. All right.
But
You
anyway,
got to make enough money to bring you up to EggCon. I'm telling you.
well, I have this weird, almost synchronistic thing that happens periodically. Like, I won't really consider Wisconsin in any way for a long time, and then out of the blue, Heidi or Eric will reach out to me, and sometimes it's just this weird bit of synchrony. I'll be sitting in traffic in the car directly in front of me, and then to the left of that one, both Wisconsin plates. I was is it like 2 or 3 summers ago? There was a YouTuber. He retired now. Guy had millions of subscribers. And he decided to step away to avoid burnout. English, young man, very brilliant. His name's Tom Scott. And I'm like, oh, a new video from Tom Scott. And I clicked on the notification. He was in Lake Geneva. But it had nothing to do with games or gaming. He was doing a video about the mail boats that go around the lake, and they have the mail jumpers. You right. Jump off the boat, run up and put the mail in, and then run and try and jump it back on the boat. And it was just kind of one of those weird synchronistic things. And then a few months later, my audience all just banded together and were like, "We're sending you to GaryCon, Bill. Here's a boatload of money." So, I would love to get back up there someday, whether it's for Paul's Dragon Days event, for EggCon, or hell, I'd even go to GaryCon if somebody asked me nice enough.
Well, if you have that need, I mean, I have a spare bedroom. Both kids did finally move out, so.
Oh, well, there you go.
And I'm only about an hour from Lake Geneva.
I greatly appreciate it.
In the car for an hour, but
Yeah. Eric Potter asks, throw llama from the train. No one. By the way, Eric, I love your Grenadier Gold Line miniature icon. That is very cromulent. I love that. We were actually talking about miniatures earlier. Do you have a favorite line, a favorite sculpt, or anything like that?
Eric's one of my big Inner City fans.
Oh, okay.
We haven't talked about what Inner City is either. I'm sorry. Inner City is the role-playing game where you play a crook that is stuck in a bad 1970s through 1980s police drama, television police drama.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just your company's Impressum, but it's actually a game.
The newest version out is Inner City Redux.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually the third version of the game that we did. The original was published in 1978 and 1982. But it's a violence roller coaster. Seriously, Bill.
Right.
You steal cars, you burn buildings down, you shoot people and take their stuff. And that's how you go up levels until you get too many crimes. And every cop in the street recognizes you instantly as public enemy number one. And you spend the rest of your character life running away from things.
That sounds a lot like Grand Theft Auto, actually. If you're familiar with the,
it's funny, but it predated Grand Theft Auto by about 6 years. I'm pretty sure some of the guys at Rockstar Games have a copy of that game on their shelf.
I wouldn't be surprised. It also smacks of, now. Do you know? Do you know? What is? Hang on a second. I want to make sure I get the name of this game right. Because I always mess this up. But Greg Costican, I don't know if you know Greg.
Rings a bell, yeah.
But Greg Costican released a parody of Dungeons and Dragons that is Violence, the role-playing game of egregious and repulsive bloodshed. That is, and his came. It was from Hogshead in '99, and it's, according to the Wikipedia page, it's a satire of conventional dungeon bashing games set in a contemporary metropolis where the player characters dash from room to room, unaliving the occupants and stealing their belongings. I gotta be careful, Chris. I gotta be careful.
It's just funny. I'm sorry.
I will tell you though, and this is kind of humorous. I once got a demonetization mark, which is not a bad thing. It's basically like getting a tardy slip from YouTube, for a video where I did, and it's a good couple of hours long, and I talked about Twilight 2000 from GDW.
Yep.
And right on the cover of Twilight 2000 are 3 people armed with assault rifles.
Yeah.
And the game deals, I mean, it's a military role-playing game set in the middle of a World War III that is slowly grinding to a halt. So I thought, okay, they demonetized me because I talked a lot about this. No, it turns out I yelled a big swear.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a 2-hour video, and I said the C word, and apparently that was why they demonetized me. So I gotta be careful. I don't want this video to have to go.
I will say only this about that old role playing game, and I'm sorry, Throw Llama from the Train was actually from the plane rather, was an adventure we ran at Gen Con, but I want to say in the 90s. So. Eric, if you've been a fan that long, I'm going to start worrying about you. Anyway, because it is all about committing crimes. And so in the 70s, that wasn't a game that was popular with a lot of store owners. They thought it was a little too edgy. But when the re-release hit, it sold like hotcakes. Because we had sold through 3,000 or 4,000 of them just on over-the-counter sales and mail order. But the stores didn't want to carry it. Stores did not want to carry it.
Yeah, I know it can be.
Well, I don't blame them. They know their customer.
Yeah, for sure. Well, do any of you folks out there in audience land, again, who are probably dodging the ongoings on CNN and other places, does anyone have any questions for Chris? It's the bottom of the hour, and I know you sound like an exceptionally busy person, Chris. I don't want to keep you up too late, but does anyone else have any questions? I'm gonna scroll back up while anyone types here. If there's anything else that you wanted to.
Well, one last plug for EggCon. When we go 3D, we're running Castle Wolfmoon stuff and Lance stuff, and I even have a 3D laboratory of the future that you have to investigate. And I won't give you more clues than that, but it covers about half of a table.
Oh, that sounds very cool. Well, I hope you will. I hope you will post up plenty of pictures for your next visit here.
Definitely.
And
how do I do that though?
How do you visit us again? Well, you silly person. I send you a link and you join us.
How do I give you pictures, Bill?
You the same way you sent me the.
So just attach them. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. You can attach them, however, I will be more than happy to share those around with the folks here on the show because it sounds absolutely wonderful.
I'm gonna have to send you some more humor product too. I can see that.
You know what? A humor product review or Rama for an interstitial video would be a lot of fun. I think
at the Coliseum, where you don't actually have to run faster than the lion.
Oh, there you go. Oh, Eric Potter did have a question here before we wrap up. Eric wants to know, did I miss the launch date for Wolfmoon? Oh, yeah, we just dropped it during the start of the stream, Eric, and it sold out. Sorry, bud. No, I'm kidding. When is that?
They're looking at July 11th, Eric. It's not graven in stone yet. It may waver a day or so from there, but that would be I'd put $20 that they're going to make it the 11th of June or July. Sorry, of July. And what sold is today? It's not actually up to me at this point. It's up to Pulse and those people involved from Pulse. So.
Just sharing those up real quick for anyone else out there in the audience, whether you're watching this tomorrow or the next day or what have you, basically any time before that. If you're watching this like 2 years from now and you can't find this Kickstarter, I'm sorry. Go to the inner city store and buy it directly from them. But if you're watching this before July 11th, 2024, then there you go. Go to the link that's up on the screen and check it out. And if you're watching this hundreds of years in the future, hail to our insect overlords.
Yeah.
But let's see, Daniel Rowan. Well, you're quite welcome. Imagine landing in a timeline where Skynet is. I'm voting giant meteor 2024. Shin. It's got my vote. It's the campaign slogan is quick and painless. What can I tell you, Chris?
I did save my copy of the calendar from 2012, where the one day it says sunny, and then fiery meteors come.
Yeah, 34,000 degrees centigrade,
yeah, it's right
and then partly cloudy. All right. So thank you so much for being with us tonight, Chris, and everybody, please. I'm going to put up links in the description. So if you're watching this from,
I was going to say, if you need pictures of anything, please holler. Yeah.
Absolutely. So if you're watching this, and you're like, hey, I just want to click a link. Your stuff's going too fast. I will put links to Chris's Kickstarter, to Inner City Games, and to EggCon, and to anything else, Chris, that you want me to link to. Let me know, and I will link to it. Okay. So with that said, thank you, Chris.
Well, thanks for having me on, Bill. My goodness,
so much being
here.
You have
no idea the huge footprint that you make on YouTube. You do.
Well, I do some kind of huge thing on YouTube. Some part of my body imprints down on YouTube, Chris. But thank you. You have made a huge mark on tabletop role-playing games, and please continue to do so for our entertainment and our education. And feel free to tune in, like and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and I want you to come back. I definitely want you to come back. But for me, I'm Chris. Help yourself to the green room. We've got some Pellegrino, some cheeses, a salami tray back there.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. So I'll just go ahead and ease the studio door shut. Yes, I did. Until then, guys, everyone, have an absolutely wonderful evening. Try to avoid the news just exactly and precisely like you would avoid those dreaded owl bears. Peace. I love you all. I'll see you around next time.
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere, in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around, some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle, way off course? Naked as a toad, all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just take me to the